If I had to start over again with everything that I knew now, here's the exact 12-week roadmap that I would use to get that lean athletic physique all over again. Whether you've never picked up a dumbbell before or you've been training consistently for years, but you're stuck in the exact same place that you were 6 to 12 months ago, this is the exact plan that I'd give you. The one I wish someone had given me when I first started, so I would have saved years of frustration and smashing my head against the wall. If you watch to the end of this video, I show you exactly how to structure your food, your training, your daily habits, so this sticks forever, not just for the first week. By the way, I'm Josh. I've been training around 13 years. I've been coaching people to get results like this and like this for the past 8 years. And the way I train myself is the exact way I train these clients, and it looks nothing like what you've been sold online. The premise is very simple. Train for performance and eat to fuel that training. Walk daily, sleep enough, and use cardio as a tool, not a punishment. But the reason that most men fail at this isn't because they're picking the wrong plan. It's because they try and do every single thing at once. So we're going to build things in layers over the next 12 weeks. So this isn't just going to be one of those times where you try something, it doesn't stick, and then you just sack it off and you're on to the next method. Today I'm going to give you the entire roadmap. And if you want some actual training and nutrition plans to help you along the way, there's a link in my bio that's going to give you all of that. Just put your details in, takes 30 seconds. Trust me, it's worth it. They're pretty damn good. But if you'd rather figure it out for yourself, the rest of this video is going to be more than enough. We're going to start with something that most people get backwards, and that's your nutrition. What we're absolutely not going to do is commit to something that's restrictive and crazy, because you're not going to stick to it. Anything that is completely the opposite of what you're currently doing is going to be a waste of time. Stay with me, because I know what you're thinking. Josh, I want to be perfect. I want to make these changes. And I get it, but you need to think about all the previous times that you've tried something like this, you flip your nutrition on its head, and it's not worked. It's not worked because you've done too much, you've got overwhelmed, and you sacked it off completely. So we're going to keep it simple and aim for whole foods 80% of the time. And then that 20% you're going to fill with less nutritious foods like some chocolate or ice cream or anything like that. Whatever tickles your pickle 20% of the time. And I would argue it's actually really, really important. I say to all my clients that you don't try and hit perfection. You don't try and eat clean 100% of the time, because if you're always shooting for perfect, anything less than that, if you end up slipping and having a little bit of chocolate, you're going to think that you're a failure, you're going to overindulge, and then you're just going to fall off completely. So have clarity that you're going to have flexibility within this diet, because flexibility, as long as we're following that 80-20 split, is going to allow you to be consistent, not just short term, but long term. Because what's the point in getting results for 6 to 8 weeks to then go backwards? You want to look good, perform good, and feel good for the rest of your fucking life. So 80-20 for something like this is absolutely perfect. Next, protein first in every single meal. This is the biggest thing that's going to change your whole entire body composition. I would probably say at least 80% of men, so the majority of people that come on board with me, are eating nowhere close to the amount of protein that they need to be. Almost half of the intake of where we need to actually get to. If you're tracking your calories, which we need to do, you want to be aiming for 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 180 pounds, you would have 180 gram of protein. You can start to speak about your lean body mass and stuff like that, but again, people just get overwhelmed and confused, so we're just going to keep it simple. 180 grams for a 180 pound male. Like I said, I would highly suggest tracking your food, but if you decide not to, just make sure that you have an obvious source of protein with every single meal. Another aspect of your food that we need to look out for is your fruit and veg. Aim for half of every single plate that you eat to come from that. 2 reasons. 1, because you need the nutrients that you're going to get from your fruit and veg to give you the energy that you need to train at the intensity of what we need to do. But 2, having half of your plate are either fruit or veg, depending on the meal, is going to allow you to stay in that calorie deficit much easier, because these things are going to be high volume but low calories. And if you can have that on a regular basis throughout a deficit, you're going to be in a very, very good spot, because you're going to feel very full, but you've not consumed that many calories, which is going to make you less likely to overindulge on these things like chocolate and sweets and stuff like that. You ideally want to be having meals the size of your head. And with me, trust me, that's a pretty big plate. Right? If you can be having your chicken salads, filling it up with loads of salad, with your fruit, having big fruit salads and stuff like that. Again, like I said earlier, these things are going to be a lot of volume, which is going to keep you feeling very full, but not that many calories. Come back to my earlier point, if you don't want to track your calories, following a simple meal structure is going to make it very, very easy to stick to a certain set of calories, but also hit your macros, so your protein, your carbs, and your fats. The meal structure that I would give anyone who is wanting to build an athletic physique will be half of your plate being fruit or veg, a quarter of protein, and a quarter of carbs with a thumb-sized serving of fat. Well, that is the oil that you cook with, nuts, seeds, dressings, anything that is a good source of fat. But if you do want to track your calories, I'd recommend going to a TDE calculator. I've linked one that I use down below. It's completely free. The only thing to look out for is to make sure that you are not overestimating your activity levels. This is where most people go wrong with calculating the calories. 3 gym sessions per week does not make you very active. It's about the other 23 hours of the day. So use this guide to figure out roughly where you sit in terms of activity levels. If you want to lose fat during this process, aim for a deficit of 300 to 500 calories off your maintenance every day. The bigger the deficit, the faster the fat loss will happen. But remember, sustainability is key too. So it's a balancing act. Having a deficit big enough that you see results, quick enough that you stay motivated, but also making sure that your deficit isn't too big that you literally hate your life, feel starving all the time and can't keep it up. For an example, if your TDE is 2,000 calories a day, you would aim from anywhere between 15 to 1,700 calories per day. And the number that you choose within that range is decided purely on what you think is sustainable for you at that specific time. If fat loss isn't a goal of yours, then I would simply just eat at maintenance calories. Right, now we're on to your training. Aim for 2 to 4 strength sessions per week on what is doable for you and your routine. If you can only commit to 2, do 2 properly. 3 to 4 is a sweet spot if your life allows it though. If you do more than 4, you're stealing from recovery time for almost no extra return. Your training should be built around the 7 movement patterns: squat, lunge, hinge, push, pull, rotate, and carry. I've done an entire video breaking down exactly how I structure this, so go and have a watch of that if you haven't already, but the short version is that you need to distribute those 7 movement patterns through your week in full body sessions. Do 2 compound movements at the start of every session, ideally 1 upper, 1 lower, and then move to your accessories afterwards. Here's a 4-day-a-week example on screen if that's the volume you're aiming for. And if at this point you're thinking, yeah, great, everything makes sense, but to be honest, I can't be asked to think about it. I'd rather just hand somebody the reins and let them do it all for me. That's exactly what my coach is built for. I plan out your training, your nutrition, everything that's tailored to you. I sort out your routine, your structure, so you can actually stick to it and it's not overwhelming anymore. And of course, the accountability that comes on top of it. I am checking in with you whenever you need me. We'll have weekly check-ins, we'll have calls if it's needed. You'll have video training feedback, video feedback over the whole entire week. So it's not just a plan. Anybody can give you a plan, right? Anybody can change your plan. But it's me holding you accountable to actually doing it, but then me doing all the thinking for you, so you ain't got to think about anything but getting in the gym and doing the work. If that sounds interesting, there's a link to book call in the bio. I'll run you through how it works. I'll get a bit more clarity in terms of where you're currently at. If it makes sense, we can move forward. If not, you'll leave with a good plan of attack to crack on your own. This last section is the bit that most people skip, but I don't want you to be like most people. Your day-to-day habits have such a massive impact on how sustainable this process is. So it's really important, no matter how boring it is to talk about, that you develop these over time. For the first 2 weeks, all you're going to be doing is tracking what you're doing. You want to look specifically at your steps, your water intake, and your sleep. We're following the same principles as with our training and nutrition. We're absolutely not going to try and do too much too soon. Just collect the data so you know exactly where you're starting from. Most people assume that they're around 8 to 10,000 steps and maybe around 2,000 calories, but once they actually start tracking it and they have clarity in terms of what the specific numbers are, they're very, very shocked of how much they fall short. So we're going to use that number that you see at the end of the 2 weeks as our new baseline. Once we've got your baseline, we can set the next goal. We want to be aiming really for around 8 to 10,000 steps per day. You don't really need to be doing anything more, and any more, I would argue, can be kind of unsustainable because of how much time it takes, which again is going to add friction and might cause you to sack it off completely. In terms of water intake, what I would suggest is around 3 liters per day. For me, I sweat a lot, so I have sometimes 5 to 6 paired with some electrolytes, and get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. If some nights you fall short for whatever reason, please try and make up for that across the week. But as I said before, we are not focusing on doing too much too soon. Again, we set that baseline and then we make small changes, and small changes will compound over time. So let's say, for example, we take your steps. If you're doing 2,000 steps a day on a consistent basis, for you to then go from 2 to 10,000 is going to be the worst idea in the world. It's not going to be sustainable. You're going to feel like a failure, and again, you're going to quit. So if you are around 2,000, bump that up to 4 or 5. Make it sustainable. If you can build that muscle of consistency in the early stages, the faster you build that, the faster you build momentum, you build more motivation, and then both of them things combined lead to you following the plan, not just short term, but as I've said before, long term as well. Same with your water intake. If you're currently having 1 liter right now, and I've just said 3, bump that up to 2. Right? Go from 1 to 2. and then 2 to 2.5, and then 2.5 to 3. Remember, stepping stone approach, not taking big leaps. The bigger the leap, the higher the chance of you quitting. If there's any new parents watching, again, you are going to have to do your best with what you can with sleep. I know it's tough. I know you're probably going to get woken up in the night. But again, it all comes down to whether it's with this or something else, controlling the controllables. As long as you're giving your best every single day, then that's all we can ever ask for. So that's how you can change your habits in a way that is actually sustainable. And it works whether you're just starting out or whether you've been on an health and fitness journey for the last 5 years. Remember, we're not trying to be impressive in week 1, trying to still be doing this by week 12. So that's the full roadmap on how I'd build an athletic physique and feel great if I had to start all over again. As I said before, if you want them free trainings with them guides that are going to make all of this a hell of a lot easier, just click the first link in the description box, input your details, I'll send it right over. That's your lot. Thanks for coming. Peace.